Democrats make history.
I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
For the first time, they nominate a woman for President of the United States. Also tonight, as Bill Clinton gets ready to sing her praises, Donald Trump sounds a sour note.
You know her name, Crooked Hillary Clinton.
We'll look at new technology to prevent accidental deaths in the summer heat.
When I opened the back door to the vehicle, that's the moment that my life and my family's life changed forever.
And a sisterhood comes to Philadelphia to press for peace.
It has become political. We are the mothers that are burying the children that are dying in the streets.
This is the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley, reporting tonight from the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia.
Breaking news, this convention has just nominated Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate for President of the United States. It is not a surprise, but it is a milestone for America. The first woman to win a major party nomination, nearly a century after women won the right to vote. Nancy Cordes begins our coverage tonight. Nancy?
Scott, I've spoken to a number of women in this arena who said that they never imagined that they would live to see this moment, and what a moment it was. Just a few minutes ago, the roll call vote wrapped up. The roll call vote is alphabetical, so the state of Vermont, where I am right now, comes close to the end anyway, but they passed so that Vermont would go last. And just towards the end, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders walked in. His campaign wouldn't tell anyone until the very end whether he would actually be here or not. He stepped to the podium and he announced that Hillary Clinton had gone over the top. Take a listen.
Madam Chair, I move that the convention suspend the procedural rules. I move that all votes cast by delegates be reflected in the official record. And I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
This roll call vote is something that Senator Sanders wanted. He wanted to remind this party that he won 22 of 50 states, that he had 46% of the delegates. He wanted to show that his movement will go on, but in the end, he also wanted to show that the party was unified, and that's why he played this symbolic role, bringing a party together in a way that, for example, Senator Ted Cruz was unwilling to do last week, Scott, when he would not endorse the nominee, Donald Trump.
Nancy Cordes with the delegates tonight. Nancy, thank you. Let's go to John Dickerson now, our CBS News political director, and of course the anchor who faced the nation. He's with the Vermont delegation. John?
Scott, I'm here across from where Bernie Sanders sat, and all along the Clinton campaign said they had to find a way to help Bernie Sanders acknowledge what he did that was so amazing, the movement that he built, prepare a way for him to honor what he did, and they literally cleared the path, prepared the way for him to have his moment here. This party may have had a kind of low-grade fever in terms of but that is totally gone. It erupted in deafening cheers here. And this is the culmination of an amazing march for Hillary Clinton. 9 years ago, 6 months and 5 days was the first time she declared she was running for president. This is her 4th national campaign. And the history just marches on. Later tonight, when Bill Clinton speaks, he'll be the first former president to take the stage to make the case for his wife.
John, Bernie Sanders' campaign was very much like Trump's in that it was an insurgency. He was attempting to overthrow the Democratic Party. We remember, of course, Sanders is an independent in the Senate and only became a Democrat when he started running for president. Can Sanders bring along the Bernie-crats, if you will, the 13 million people who voted for him, and turn them into Hillary Clinton voters?
Well, I talked with Senator Sanders about that this morning, and he recognizes that these are not party people who are here for him. He thinks only about 5% or so of those folks who are here are ones who participated in party conventions before, which means they're not necessarily going to do it just for the team. But his argument is he ran an issue-oriented campaign, and if you care about the issues, there's only one candidate you can back. back. May not be the one they want, but he now is making the realistic case that Hillary Clinton made during the primary, which is they've got to back the person who believes at least some of the things they do when Donald Trump is the alternative.
Now, John, there are normally 3 speakers in prime time at the convention, but tonight there is only one, former President Bill Clinton. What are you expecting?
Well, we expect a very personal speech. Bill Clinton also likes to give a long speech, so that's another reason there's only one. His campaign was joking today about how he might very well be writing the speech minutes or seconds before he takes the stage. But what we expect is a personal insight into Hillary Clinton from somebody who knows her very well. One campaign aide talked about him perhaps even talking about what caused him to fall in love with her. So very personal, but also he has the standing to talk about the qualities needed for the office, what he saw when she was a first lady and what he sees in her that makes her ready for the job now.
John, thank you. Well, Bill Clinton held the all-time record for longest acceptance speech until last week when he was trumped by Donald Trump. Trump took his battle to a meeting of the veterans of foreign wars in Charlotte, North Carolina today, and Major Garrett was there.
The GOP ticket arrived to enthusiastic VFW applause and used that convention to challenge the Democratic strategy for a modern-day enemy.
We need to change our foreign policy to focus on defeating and destroying ISIS, a word you didn't hear last night at the Democrat convention. You didn't hear it.
Trump then implied Democrats are to blame for the rise of the terror group.
They really established ISIS because of weakness.
Trump rarely details what strengths he'd use to defeat ISIS. He has advocated more bombing missions and vague plans to seize oil revenue. But Trump routinely dances around whether he would order more U.S. troops into combat. Trump also stoked anti-Clinton sentiment one day after she addressed the same group.
Crooked Hillary Clinton. And to think she was here yesterday, I guess she didn't do very well.
Trump promised to whip the Veterans Administration into shape and joked about the workload he fears from a 24-hour White House hotline he would set up to take complaints about delayed health care.
And this could keep me very busy at night, folks. This will take the place of Twitter.
Speaking of Twitter, Trump went online and went off on last night's convention speakers. About New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, if he is the future of the Democratic Party, they have no future.
Hillary Clinton will make an outstanding president.
Trump said Bernie Sanders sold out to Clinton. As for Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren,
what kind of a man acts like this?
Trump said her speech bombed and that she's always hated Clinton.
The Clinton campaign readily admits ISIS was not mentioned on an opening night devoted to women and children, but promises those mentions are coming. Scott, as for Trump and ISIS, Jake Sullivan, a senior Clinton campaign advisor, says from his perspective, Trump's plan to defeat the terror group is so secret, nobody knows what it is.
Major Garrett, thanks very much. Now to the investigation of the leak of Democratic Party emails that threw this convention into turmoil yesterday and forced the party chair to resign. Juliana Goldman has the latest.
Intelligence and administration officials tell CBS News they're confident the Russian government is behind the DNC's email hack and say it has all the hallmarks of other cyber attacks launched by the Kremlin's intelligence service. Russian officials are calling Americans paranoid. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov dismissed the allegations when he was asked about them today.
Well, I don't want to use forward words.
While they can't ascribe a motive for the email dump on the eve of the Democratic convention, U.S. officials have long suspected ties between the Kremlin and WikiLeaks, the group that posted the DNC emails. They say this episode strengthens those suspicions. And the Clinton campaign's accusation that Russia is trying to help Donald Trump has cast a cloud of Cold War-era intrigue over Philadelphia.
Russia stole it for my benefit. Russia.
In North Carolina last night, Trump said he's never even met Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Wouldn't it be nice if we actually did get along with Russia?
But he has long maintained he wants to build a relationship with him and has promoted policies like reducing the role of NATO that would empower Putin. Whether or not Moscow is trying to sway the U.S. election, the officials say the leak fits into a pattern of Russia using cyber warfare to stir up trouble for its adversaries and takes it to a new level. Eugene Rumer is a former officer at the National Intelligence Council.
Anytime when Washington appears weakened, discredited, and inward-oriented, serves the interests of Russia.
We may get a better indication of whether Russia really is trying to meddle in the election if the leaks become a pattern. Scott, one official told us it will be fairly obvious if they release more emails at other inopportune times for the Democratic nominee.
Juliana Goldman, thanks. Primetime convention coverage begins at 7. I'll be joined by Nora O'Donnell, Charlie Rose, Gayle King, and John Dickerson. The featured speaker tonight, former President Bill Clinton. Today, ISIS claimed a gruesome attack at a Catholic church in northern France. 2 men murdered an elderly priest. One of the men was under house arrest already on terror charges. Charlie Daggett is following this.
They killed Father Jacques Hamel just as he finished morning mass, forcing the 86-year-old priest to kneel. Then they slit his throat. The attackers took 3 nuns and 2 worshipers hostage. Sister Danielle managed to escape and told a local radio station that Hamel had tried to fight back, but he'd been overpowered. She said the attackers recorded it on their cell phones, and that's when she ran out. Police shot the 2 men dead when they tried to leave the church, freeing the hostages. Within hours, ISIS claimed responsibility, calling them soldiers. French prosecutors said one of the suspects was a French citizen known to police and had been arrested twice on his way to Syria. He was wearing an electronic monitor at the time of the attack, as well as a fake explosives vest. Today's murder appears to be the 4th ISIS-inspired attack in Western Europe in less than 2 weeks, leaving many anxious and fearful. France had just buried 84 victims in Nice after a driver drove a truck through a holiday crowd. When a teenage Afghan refugee in Germany attacked train passengers with an axe, and a Syrian suicide bomber blew himself up outside a German music concert. French President Francois Hollande already extended France's state of emergency for another 6 months after the attacks in Nice. Scott, today, he said the threat of Islamic extremism to France and Europe has never been so severe.
Charlie Daggett, thanks. Since Friday, 4 children in America have died in parked, overheated cars. But new technology could save lives. And here's our transportation correspondent, Chris Van Cleave.
With the temperature hovering around 100 degrees, a family's trip to church Sunday turned deadly in Dallas. A 3-year-old was apparently forgotten, left inside the family's vehicle in the parking lot. He died. So far this year, at least 23 children in 14 states have died after being left in hot cars. That's more than double this time last year.
If you don't think something like this can happen to you, you're wrong.
Reggie McKinnon's 17-month-old daughter Peyton died after he forgot she was in the back seat. He'd taken her from a doctor's appointment and driven back to work. His office was just a block from her daycare.
When I opened the back door to the vehicle, that's the moment that my life and my family's life changed forever. I found Peyton still in her car seat.
The interior of a car can heat up fast, adding 2 degrees a minute. In just a half hour today, this car reached nearly 125 degrees. Child heat stroke in cars can happen when the outdoor temperature is as low as 57. Deborah Hersman from the National Safety Council.
When people get out of their normal routines, when they get preoccupied by something that's going on in their life, they may just have a different day than normal. They may forget that that child's in the back seat.
That warning is a first-of-its-kind system General Motors is rolling out in the 2017 GMC Acadia. It alerts the driver at the end of any trip if the rear door was previously opened. A reminder that could save a life.
We left this SUV out in the sun for the last several hours. It's about 130 degrees inside, and that can be particularly dangerous to a small child, Scott, because their body temperatures rise at about 4 times the rate of an adult. If that body temperature hits 107, it can be fatal.
Chris Van Cleave, thank you. Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, more convention coverage from Philadelphia and a wildfire devouring land and homes near Los Angeles. Firefighters are making progress against a huge wildfire in the mountains north of Los Angeles. Some folks have been allowed to go back home, but others don't have homes to return to. Maria Villarreal is there.
This is where the sand fire did its worst, consuming 18 homes. The one behind me included in that number. 3 to 4 days after this home burned, firefighters are still on scene. They're concerned that the entire structure might come down, which is why they're on scene putting out hot spots. In nearly 5 days, that sand fire has eaten up about 37,000 acres of land. It is at 25% containment, but it is still threatening homes north of here, which is why some evacuation orders are still in place. At its height, 10,000 homes were evacuated. At this point, a lot of those homeowners have been allowed back in, but not in this area. Here's why. Over my shoulder, you can see, although this hillside is burned, there is still a lot of fuel for this fire. So if there are any flare-ups, it could become another dangerous situation.
Maria Villarreal, thanks very much, and we'll be right back from Philadelphia. Among the speakers at the convention tonight, mothers who have lost children to violence. DeMarco Morgan talked to the mothers of Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Jordan Davis, Blair Holt, Hadia Pendleton, and Trayvon Martin.
We are a group of sisters in a sisterhood none of us chose to be in. All of our children taken one way or the other, stand your ground, police brutality, or murdered in the city of Chicago, you know, by another teenager with a gun. So we've developed a message and a strong voice in this election season about what we need to see changed in the world today. We have to stand up and, you know, give our voice to this. Our children will not die in vain, none of them.
What's the conversation that has to be had, that needs to be had for young boys and young African-American men in this country?
They feel that they're under assault. We know that they're under assault.
Yeah.
But we would tell them is that you have every right to walk with your head held high, but do understand that, you know, there are those in this country that don't necessarily value your life. So be empowered, stand up, and fight for what you deserve.
Do you blame Obama for what has happened?
I do not, only because he didn't pull the trigger. A lot of us, you know, feel like more could be done, but we know that it's a process.
A lot of people will not be happy to see you on that stage. Some people will have something to say on the other side.
We are a group of mothers who have all buried our children. Why not look at who we are for just that? We're a group of mothers that really are out here using our voices to minimize the possibility that someone else would have to join this.
What has it been like living without Trayvon, living without Hadia, living without Jordan, Mike Brown, Eric Garner?
It feels like you continue to live your life and something major is missing. Like your heart is missing or a limb is missing. It feels like something is missing.
Sometimes people walk up and they say things. Sometimes you'll see someone that reminds you. You'll smell something, you'll eat something. I can be in the kitchen cooking for my other kids.
Okay. It's okay.
What about the senseless killings of cops? Do you still bear their burden as well?
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Nobody should be a victim of violence.
Yes.
Right. No.
And we don't condone what happened with the policeman. Murder is murder and it's wrong, whether it's law enforcement or civilian.
Do you still have hope, even after cases like Alton and Sterling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we have a long way to go. If we lose our hope, then what do we have left? Hope is all we have.
DeMarco Morgan with some of tonight's speakers, and we'll have more from the convention in just a moment. Nora O'Donnell has been talking to delegates about the history they made here tonight.
And history it is. I was up there with delegates, 4 women from Missouri, who openly wept with joy. They held hands, they hugged each other. One of them said to me, it's taken 96 years for women to get the right to vote. And then she started bawling, crying, saying, and now we have a woman to be the first in history to win a major party nomination. That's a moment, and I think the Clinton campaign is hoping that a night like tonight, that history will ultimately help people go to the polls, feeling that they want to be part of history and electing her president of the United States. I also think the Democrats are hoping to recapture some of the magic that Obama did, the aspirational magic that got him into the White House.
Nora O'Donnell, thank you very much, Nora. And that's the Western edition of the CBS Evening News from Philadelphia. Primetime coverage begins at 7 o'clock. We'll see you then.